Our next guest is a young lady who is extremely brave. Ladies and gentlemen, Josie the Outlaw.
This presentation has been brought to you by Gigi Bowman for State Senate and Oath Keepers.
Okay, first I just wanted to say that I'm extremely honored to be here with such amazing people who had a very integral part in my own awakening and my own learning process. Edward G. Griffin and Bob Murphy and Sheriff Mack and even people who are the attendees here. I've learned so much from. I just want to say thank you for that. And so I've been asked to come to speak on the Second Amendment. And I just want to make it clear that the Second Amendment does not create an individual right to keep and bear arms. Now, I know that may sound funny to a lot of people, but I'm going to say it again. The Second Amendment does not create the right to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment identifies and expresses the inherent right of human beings to be able to defend themselves. The Bill of Rights did not create any rights, nor did it pretend to. And if tyrants come along and repeal the Second Amendment or pass some law in violation of it, the right of the people to be armed will still exist. If I write on a piece of paper, the sky is blue, and someone comes along and erases it or burns it or throws it away or tears it up, that's not going to change the fact that the sky is still blue. Point being, there's nothing in the world that anyone can do to erase the natural, inherent right of human beings to defend themselves from aggressors. The Second Amendment was put in place because the founders realized that the people remaining armed was, quote, necessary to the security of a free state. Now, I don't actually want a free state. I want a free society. I want a free world. I don't want a limited ruling class. I want no ruling class. So I don't agree with everything the founders did or said, but we do agree on this. The people should always retain the means to defend themselves from criminals. And by criminals, I mean both the common street thugs and the ones wearing badges and uniforms. Now, there may be some politicians naive enough to actually think and imagine that so-called gun control will prevent crime. But I believe that those pushing hard to disarm the public are not misguided or merely ignorant. Their goal is to create a world in which only the criminals, the ones with and without badges, are armed. Why? It's the same reason a farmer wouldn't want his cattle to be armed. A lot of people are scared of the idea of some bad guy having a gun. I'm scared of that too. But history shows that something that should scare people a lot more is a world in which citizens are defenseless and only agents of the state have guns. That is the end game of those in power. And if you want to see how that has always turned out, just open a history book. A lot of people ask what we can do about this. And if you're bored, you can write to your congressman and let him know how you feel about it. But what I think would be much more effective would be to take it upon yourself to keep you, your family, and your fellow man safe and protected. Unfortunately, this often means putting your fears aside and having the guts to disobey the laws that destroy freedom. While there is a risk involved in this approach, as one of our later speakers is well aware of and unfortunately has been a victim of, if more people don't stand up to injustice, it's only going to get worse. Again, the founders did not pretend to create a right to be armed. They identified the right of self-defense as a natural right, a right which no power in the world, no legislation, no authority, nothing can undo. If you agree with them on that, then don't bother asking for permission to be armed. I can't speak for the founding fathers, but I'm pretty sure the idea was not that the people have the right to keep and bear arms, as long as the politicians would like them to. People have to choose their battles. The goal here is not martyrdom, but no one should feel guilty about disobeying the arbitrary garbage which the politicians declare to be law. Despite what state propaganda your authoritarian indoctrination may say, your obligation is to follow your own moral compass, to be a moral, responsible adult. And that includes the responsibility to defend yourself, your home, your family, and freedom in general from anyone who would seek to control or harm innocents. I do want to add a brief message to all of the law enforcers, including any government agents that may be checking us out here tonight, and any that may see this later. Behind the badge, beneath the uniform, you are a human being. Morality applies to you. You have a conscience, use it. When you obey orders to commit aggression in the name of law, there will be some freedom advocates who are going to scream and yell and spit and, condemn you as a bunch of fascist pigs. At one point in my life, I used to do the same. However, I would much rather treat you the way I would want you to treat me as a human being and remind you of your responsibility to protect the freedoms of others and not just act as an obedient pawn of those in power. For example, if the powers that be declared that you are going to be disarmed, that you have to give up your means of defending yourself and your family, would you comply? And when faced with these situations in the future, remember, the people won't need to resist unjust laws if police don't enforce them in the first place. There are a lot of people who don't care about gun control. They don't think it has anything to do with them. But when a population is reduced to being helpless, defenseless subjects, it affects everyone, maybe not today or tomorrow, but the pattern in history is very clear. When the common people are disarmed and only agents of the government have guns, then the ruling class can absolutely do anything it wants to the people. The founders knew this, which is why they wrote the Second Amendment describing, not creating, the inherent right of all people to retain the ability to defend themselves forcefully if necessary, from all aggressors, including their own government. Unfortunately, those in power and their enforcers are making it more and more clear that they believe they can do anything they damn well please. And the rest of us should just shut up and take it. The Kelly Thomas case is one brutally tragic example of how American police essentially have a license to kill with impunity. Does anyone really believe that things would be better if only state mercenaries were armed? Ultimately, what matters just as much as the physical ability to defend ourselves is the mental ability to disobey and resist those who claim to be authority. Without resolve and the spirit of resistance, strength, courage, even an armed populace will still end up as slaves. And ironically, if the mental ability to disobey and resist is strong enough, the physical ability won't be necessary. And that's why it's so important to spread the ideas of liberty, self-ownership, self-defense, non-aggression, not just to a select few, not just to people who we feel comfortable with, not just to someone who you know won't disagree with you or shun you, but to the entire world, because eventually it will get to them. And that's basically what we need. We need numbers. We need more people understanding how important it is for us to be able to defend ourselves from injustice. We don't have to be nasty or insulting, nor do we need to be passive or apologetic when we say that we own ourselves and are not beholden to any legislature or external authority. It's important that more people come to realize that government is the primary threat to freedom, justice, and humanity, and that the only way to achieve freedom for one is to achieve freedom for all. Thank you very much.